Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. The Palestinian militant group Hamas announced on Tuesday that it had submitted its response to a proposed ceasefire arrangement for Gaza, which also involves the release of hostages. The United States affirmed its belief that reaching an agreement remained feasible. Details of Hamas's response were not immediately disclosed. However, in a statement, Hamas expressed a positive outlook, committing to a comprehensive ceasefire to end aggression against its people. The proposed deal, formulated over a week ago by US and Israeli intelligence officials in collaboration with Egypt and Qatar, aims to secure the release of remaining hostages held in Gaza in exchange for an extended cessation of hostilities. The Archbishop of Canterbury and leader of the Anglican Communion, Justin Welby, has embarked on a 5-day visit to Ukraine, marking his second journey to the nation since the Russian invasion began in February in 2022. Recalling his previous visit in December of that year, Welby spoke of feeling a profound calling to return to Ukraine. His visit commenced with a meeting with the Congregation of Christ Church in Kiev, a small Anglican church in the capital city. Throughout his time in Ukraine, he prioritised prayer, attentive listening, and understanding the impact of the war on individuals and communities. He also engaged in discussions with church leaders and representatives from humanitarian organisations, seeking to assess current needs and strengthen relationships between the Anglican Communion and Ukrainian churches. The Armenian Orthodox Bishop of Aleppo in Syria, Magar Ashkarian, has voiced concern about the ongoing emigration of Christians from the Middle East, seeing potential challenges for Western societies as a result. In an interview with the global Catholic charity Aid to the Church in Need, he emphasised the significance of Christians remaining in the Middle East to uphold Christian values, which he believes are more deeply cherished in that region compared to the secularism and globalisation prevalent in the West. He warned of potential repercussions for the West if Christians continue to leave the Middle East. Bishop Ashkarian urged the international community to offer moral and financial support to bolster the presence of Christians in the Middle East. The pro-life group Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising has announced that the remains of 5 late-term aborted fetuses in Washington, D.C. will not undergo an autopsy to determine if federal law has been violated by the abortion clinic responsible for their deaths. The D.C. medical examiner informed the group's attorney that the Department of Justice had instructed them to destroy the remains of the aborted babies. Despite calls for an investigation and autopsy by the pro-life group, federal lawmakers and pro-life activists to examine whether the fetuses were aborted in violation of the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act of 2003, officials have responded that the legality of the remains is determined by DC law, which allows abortion for up to 9 months. The researcher and lawyer Martha Patricia Molina has denounced the confiscation of a house of nuns by the Daniel Ortega dictatorship. The house, which originally belonged to the Poor Sisters of Jesus Christ, who were expelled from Nicaragua in July in 2023, is now being used as an office of the Directorate of Migration and Immigration, which is part of the Ministry of the Interior. On a post published on social network X, Molina said she has got information about the regime's plan for upcoming confiscations of religious buildings. Meanwhile, the expelled nuns have moved to El Salvador and are continuing their mission there. Nigerian Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka has warned that the insecurity and corruption rampant in the country can turn it into what he called a wide funeral home, as political will and commitment to end the evils are absent. The bishop also lashed out against President Bola Tinubu's leadership and his way of handling insecurity in the country. Calling out the increasing number of rampant killings, kidnappings, secessionist attempts and piracy, he said that the government has been helpless at all levels, that has endangered the lives and livelihoods of millions of Nigerian citizens. El Salvador has re-elected Nayib Bukele as its president. Bukele appeared to win with a margin of 83%. He has been serving as the 43rd president of the country since June in 2019. Bukele established his political party Nuevas Ideas in 2018. The 42-year-old will be sworn into power in June. During his presidency, the murder rate in El Salvador has decreased. In a statement, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken congratulated Bukele on his electoral victory and said the US will continue to prioritise good governance, inclusive economic prosperity, fair trial guarantees and human rights in El Salvador. Dudley Francis Decani, the Anglican Bishop of Chelmsford in England, has denied media allegations that the Church of England has helped asylum seekers by supporting fake conversions. The church has been facing scrutiny following an acid attack on a woman and 2 children in London's Clapham South. The suspect, named Abdul Izedi, an Afghan migrant to the UK, claimed that he is a convert to Christianity, and his claim was supported by an Anglican priest. Despite a prior conviction for sexual assault in Newcastle in 2018, he was granted asylum. Former Home Secretary Suella Braverman had accused churches across the country of enabling large-scale fraudulent asylum claims. In response, the bishop, who's a refugee from Iran, said that religious ministers approve conversion claims only after careful assessment. The Syrian Democratic Forces said in a statement on Monday that a 24-year-old Yazidi woman who's held captive for a decade by the Islamic State was rescued during a security operation by US-backed Kurdish fighters in Syria. The woman was rescued along with her son and daughter by the Women's Protection Units on Sunday from the Al-Hol camp, which houses thousands of people, mostly the wives and children of IS fighters. The woman was abducted by IS fighters during the 2014 massacres, in which thousands of men were killed and many women and teenage girls were taken and held as sex slaves. Thousands of priests from around the world are attending the Conference on Clerical Formation being held from February the 6th to the 10th. The conference, which is organised by the Vatican's Dicasteries for the Clergy, Evangelization and Eastern Churches, focuses on the theme Rekindle the Gift of God that is within you. The prefect of the Dicastery for the Clergy, Cardinal Lazarus Yu Hyung-sik, stressed the importance of providing priests with the necessary support and accompaniment as they are tired and discouraged by the challenges of today's society. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagli, who is the prefect of the Dicastery for Evangelization, reminded the priests that with ordination, their formation does not come to an end. He said continuous formation is needed as they are ordained to the service of God and the Church. The Office of Liturgical Celebrations has announced that Pope Francis will preside over the Holy Mass and traditional Ash Wednesday procession on February the 14th at the Aventine Hill in Rome. Following this, he will join the penitential procession to the Basilica of Santa Sabina, where he will celebrate Mass and bless ashes. Those events mark the beginning of Lent in Rome, representing a long-standing tradition that invites the faithful to reflect on the Lord's Passion. During Lent, the Roman faithful stop at various churches in the city centre dedicated to martyrs. Separately, the Pope's Lenten spiritual retreat begins on Sunday, February the 18th, and ends on Friday, February the 23rd. The Catholic Union of Great Britain has launched a survey to urge Catholics to have their say ahead of the next general election in the country. The Union is an organisation dedicated to defending Catholic values in Parliament and in public life. The survey intends to explore the extent to which Catholics are engaged in politics and how they are planning to be a part of it. The Vice President of the Catholic Union, Mike Kane, said fair and free elections are a great gift which should not be taken for granted. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again next time for more, and do remember in the meantime you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.